All right, week number 3 of the 2023-24 NBA season is over, which means it's time to run it back. This is Run It Back, NBA Week in Review. I'm Jose Salviati, editor at thepeachbasket.net. This is the show where we recap the week that was in the NBA and discuss the NBA question of the day as we prepare for the week to come. This season, we will have guests join us each week. Today, I'm excited to welcome the author of the 13 Rules NBA Random Thoughts articles and co-host with me of the 13 Rules podcast, Steve Purciello. Steve, how are you?
Great. How you doing?
I'm well, thank you. As I mentioned, we generally talk random thoughts based on, what's on your mind week to week. This is a little different. What we're going to do together is recap the week that was, but definitely want to get your thoughts as we go through it. We're going to start with the only objective NBA power rankings available anywhere. You can read more about how we get to these rankings and why we think they are, why they're objective, and read the entire list at thepeachbasket.net, rather. All we're going to do here is take a look at the top 10 before we get to the list after week 3. We want to call out that there are 4 teams out of the top 10 and, of course, 4 teams in. The teams out, the Pelicans are out, the Lakers are out, the Magic are out, and the Spurs, after having a really rough, winless week, are out. The teams in the top 10, the Nets, the Pacers, the Knicks, and the Thunder. Let's take a look at where they land. Here are the top 10 after week number 3. Welcome to the top 10, Brooklyn Nets. Not necessarily a great week for them at 1 and 2, but good enough to move up. The Golden State Warriors dropped from number 4 to number 9 after a 1 and 2 week themselves. Not great. I'm sure they want to be a little bit better than number 9, but at least they're still in the top 10. The young and legitimate, maybe, Oklahoma City Thunder jump up to number 8 after 2 and 1 week rather. The New York Knicks are back, maybe. They cracked the top 10 at number 7 after an undefeated 2-0 week. This is a good team. The sneaky good Indiana Pacers debut at number 6 after 3-0 week. Undefeated and looking good. Tyrese Halliburton, we'll see later, is leading that charge. After a great start, the Celtics stumbled a little in week number 3, going 2 and 2. They dropped to number 5. The Dallas Mavericks had a good week, going 3 and 1, keeping them at number 4 after week number 3. Here's a team we've talked about before on our other show. The Minnesota Timberwolves jump from number 9 to number 3 after a perfect 3-0 week, and I think they're going to stay in this top 10. The Sixers are good. They come in at number 2 after a 3-0 week. And the best of the best after week number 3 are the defending champion Denver Nuggets. They went 1-0 and are 7-1 overall. So that's the list. I really should post that here before we ask you your thoughts, but because I know that went by kind of quick. But Steve, what do you think about the objective power rankings? Any issue with any of that top 10?
No, I thought it was done well. I think that you can break it down, too, into teams you can think that can possibly win the whole thing and teams that can't. And when you do that, I would think you get 4 or 5 teams as opposed to all 10. And, like those bottom couple teams are going to always be jumping around depending on what happened that week. The one thing I will say, and I was watching a little bit of it today, the Knicks are dangerous. They're much better than what people think. They're probably as well coached as any team in the league. The one factor that's against them is there's a Thibodeau factor where players get tired of them at some point. They haven't gotten there yet. But as long as he's allowed to coach and they play, Mitchell Robinson has become a very effective player. Offense, they're getting a lot. They do need a star, so I can't see them winning a title. But I just think they're really coming into their own.
Nice, good to see. I haven't watched them enough to know, but based on the fact that they come in at number 7, were undefeated in week number 3. Certainly good to see, and certainly good for New York fans, I'm sure. All right, well, that's the objective top 10 list. If you want to see where all 30 teams land, please visit thepeachbasket.net. Now, Steve and I, we're going to focus on the players as opposed to the teams. These are the best to do it by average in week number 3. So real important to note here, These are the best to do it by average. We're going to take a look at who did it best next. But who did it best by average? Here's the list after week number 3. The most points scored by average, Joel Embiid. We'll likely see him here again, time and time again. 36 points per game in week number 3. Here's Tyrese Halliburton. We told you we'd see him again. 10.3 assists to lead the NBA after week 3. There was a tie with rebounds, but Bam is the chosen one this week. 15 rebounds per game, did some damage against the Lakers. Scotty Barnes with 4 steals per game in week number 3. And then a guy who will be on this list more times than not, Walker Kessler, led the NBA with 4 blocks per game for the Utah Jazz. No real surprises there. Let me ask your thoughts, because he came up twice now, on Tyrese Halliburton. I haven't gotten to watch him play a lot, but I've seen the highlights, and he looks really, really, really good. Do you think the Pacers have a shot with him this season, a legitimate shot in the East?
I think they're a pretty good team, but I think they miss one thing. They don't play defense.
Okay.
And if you don't play defense, I don't know how far you get. If we were to analyze the teams that win the title or in the playoffs, the finals, or get further advanced, I usually find that they have some defensive players and are a pretty good defensive team. But they can score. They're a great watch.
Right.
Matherin's fun. Halliburton's great. He's got a funny looking shot, but boy, he can make it.
Yeah.
There's so many. Neesmith off the bench is probably one of the few guys on the team that defends, but they've got Miles Turner. It just keeps going. And they've got a bunch of good players in the team.
Yeah, you just put a bug in my ear regarding the funny-looking shot. Every time I hear somebody say that, I think nobody had anything on Jamal Wilkes, right? Silk, the old Los Angeles Laker. Yeah, he'd wrap it around his head. I could actually shoot that shot pretty good, just because I grew up watching him. One of my favorite Lakers. We should do a series of articles on the craziest, wildest shots. I think of Jamal for sure. I think of the Matrix. What was that guy's name for Phoenix?
Yeah,
that was his nickname. I can't remember his name. Somebody's going to mention it in the comments, I'm sure. Yeah. But there were some crazy shots in the NBA. But if they go in, they go in. Let's keep our focus on the players. Here are the best to do it. So what we did now is we took a look at a lot of tape, and we found for you the very best dunk, dime, deny, dagger, dazzler, and the best dud of the week. Let's take a look at them, Steve, and interested to get your thoughts. The best to do it in week 3 of the NBA. The best dagger. There weren't a lot of daggers in week 3, but DeJounte did it best. It's always tough to hit that last second shot. A little more pressure. DeJounte did it. The best dime. So we'll stay in Mexico City for this. Look at this dish. Dish dime. Nice pass. The best dunk. I think you probably saw this game. Boom. And it's the step over. We didn't watch it. That was amazing. The best deny. That's a 7'4" man. And he got sent back by Isaiah. The best dazzler. Look how far away Trey is. I'd be lucky to hit the rim. I could maybe hit the backboard, but I'd have to throw it. Like I throw a baseball. Oh, the best dud. This is really the issue for me, right? And we're going to talk a little bit more about this in the question of the day. The dud of the week goes to the refs. Giannis dunked on the Detroit Pistons. The guy, and I like the guy too. I can't remember his name. Yeah, Stewart. And he dunked on him, did it too small, and he got kicked out because of that. That was a dud call. But like I said, we'll talk a little bit more about that in just a minute. But those are the best to do it, the best dunk, dime, deny, dagger, dazzler, and dud of the week, which, again, is a great segue to our question of the day. We just ended with the dud of the week. And again, perfect segue is the NBA getting too soft. Now, I got a couple of images here. If you're listening, I want to just kind of paint a picture for you. We've got Larry Bird choking Dr. J, who's choking him back. We've got Kevin McHale just clotheslining Kurt Rambis. And we've got Charles Oakley being destroyed by Alonzo Mourning, I would think. Okay, so we got a good representation from early 80s, the 80s in general, and then the 90s. I'm not saying the NBA's got to get back to what it was. I don't want to see the Rumble in the jungle. I don't want to see Malice in the Palace. I don't want to see anybody going up into the stands. But without getting too crazy, and I'll share my thoughts after I hear yours, Steve, but the game's changed. And has the pendulum swung too far? Is the NBA getting soft? What do you think, Steve?
The NBA has become real popular, second best sport in the country or whatever.
Yeah.
So with that, somewhat like football, and you got to get my parallels. Football moved the hash marks in so they can get more scoring. The NBA realizes nobody wants to watch the 95 Knicks play the Houston Rockets in a playoff series.
77, 72 ball games, right?
Yeah, nobody wants that. So what they're doing now is really cleaning it up. I mean, I go back a ways when hand checking was legal. Now that was cleaned up years ago. What they want to do is get more scoring, more action, so they continue to gain on football and any other sport, and become the most popular game. How do you do it with that? If you think about it, I go back to the day where Kevin McHale's and Wilt and those people, or Jabbar, scored out of the post.
Yeah.
That's not happening anymore because nobody wants to see it. They want excitement, and that's shooting a three.
Wow.
The game is completely different. So soft is a nice way to put it, but people want more action, more scoring, and less physical play that will in any way inhibit scoring. That's what the NBA wants also. Yeah. And naturally it's to bring people in.
What an interesting perspective. When I presented this question, I didn't think that would be your answer. I didn't think that would be anybody's answer, but what a great, well thought out answer. I never really thought about it. You're absolutely right. In doing a little bit of research outside of this question, the NBA is the second most popular sport nationally. I didn't think that. I thought second to football. I thought for sure it'd be baseball. But yeah, basketball is growing in popularity. It's a global phenomenon. I think back to hockey, right? It used to be back in the day, you throw your gloves and you'd start fighting, and they put an end to that a little, right? They still let them go, but they calmed it down a bit. And it makes sense that you're going to do that with the NBA. I think, when Ron Artest went into the stands in Detroit, I think that changed things. I'm going to answer it because it's hard to follow that because that's a very great answer. But here's what I have. Here's my problem with it, right? I don't mind. I don't want to see anybody choking anybody. I don't want to see clotheslines. I don't want to see people getting hurt. But I do feel, man, like the pendulum has swung too far. I've watched way too many reviews and waited when it looks so obvious to me that there's no flagrant, that somebody, when you nick somebody on the head, when they go up for a layup, call the foul. The fact that it hit somebody's head, triggers a flagrant one, regardless of how hard they got hit. And I think that's a problem. I do think that there's got to be a balance, right, between keep the game exciting, keep it fun. We want to increase this popularity. I get that. I think it's important and it's clearly working. But you can't do it and take some of the fun out of it, right? Take some of the excitement out of it. You can't increase excitement by taking some excitement out. You got to let the players like Giannis do what he did. You got to let him, have some fun. And just because a player gets hit in the head does not necessarily mean it's a flagrant one. On Twitter, there's a big discussion about this. There's talk of robot refs and things like that coming to draw a line in the sand. And I don't necessarily want to see that either. But in my estimation, is the NBA getting too soft? And the way I'm defining soft is, are they not letting them play like they used to? And in my estimation, they are. It just bothers me. But I just get frustrated, man, by all these reviews. I just think it's a waste. But that's just me. Interested to get your thoughts. Those watching, those listening, if you want to, let us know what you think about Steve's thoughts, about my thoughts. We are very interested as we move into week number 4. That's it. That's our show. Nice and easy. Week number 3 is officially in the books. Please join us next week when we have another guest. I think I know who it is, but I don't want to say because we don't know what happens between now and then. But we'll be a different guest. I'm excited to talk to them. Join us next week, won't you, as we review and run back week number 4. Steve, thanks for joining. We'll talk next week.
Like a magnet tuned in the peach basket, live broadcasting, even podcasted. Got a question, don't hesitate to ask it. Intelligent news with no static. Turn on your tablet when you gotta have it. Drop updates quick like a rabbit. We got the answers. Check out Peach Basket. 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 The voice of the fan. The voice of the fan. Peach Basket. Peach Basket. Peach Basket, Peach Basket, Peach Basket, Peach Basket, the voice